Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and coming to connect with us for what is some really exciting content. So on behalf of Fujitsu and IBM, welcome to this session. Great title, Agile, Available and Secure, Exploring the New Era of Data Management with IBM and Fujitsu. There's a lot of marketing in that title, though, I must disclose. So I'm very much looking forward to having some of the world's leading subject matter experts take us through this session. And I do hope that you can take a lot out of it, whether it sparks a conversation internally or with your IT network, or it just gives you a different perspective on some of the challenges that you're looking at. Before I introduce our presenters, I'll just do a bit of a tech and ops check. It is, what is it, May 2022, so most of us have PhDs in digital events by this point. The first thing is that this is all browser-based, so if there's any issues throughout the session, best thing to do is just refresh the browser. The second thing is that we do have a little bit of a chat box there. I've just popped a hello in. Feel free to jump on in, maybe say hi, let us know where you're tuning in from. Essentially get me jealous as it gets warmer and warmer across Europe. And at any point in time, just use that to send through any questions or comments that you might have, and we can talk it through with the presenters. On that note, I did say that we were very fortunate to have some really great executives taking us through the content today. I'll do a quick introduction. So we've got Val, Penna, Tavares. Val's the global data serving subject matter expert for IBM LinuxONE and Linux on IBM Z. How you doing, Val?
Hi, hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
And alongside Val is Terry Ginther. So Terry's the global sales director for Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres. So Terry, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Matt. Great to be here and really excited to be talking to everybody today.
Yeah, wonderful. Terry, I might hand it over to you to kick off, and I'll jump back in for some questions later. So please keep them curly and send those through.
Great. Thanks, Matt. So again, good afternoon, everybody in Europe. Good morning if anybody's joining from North America. Really pleased to be here this morning with Val. I think, we've got some really great material for you. What we're going to be doing is talking about Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres, our Postgres database running on the IBM Z platform, and really what that brings to the table from the perspective of agility, availability, and security. We really have a very unique value proposition when we combine these two technologies, and that's really what the focus this morning and this afternoon is all about. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Val, and she'll take us through the first couple slides, and then I'll take it for a couple after that. Val?
Okay, let's start talking a little bit about LinuxONE. LinuxONE is an IBM Z Linux, is a platform developed by IBM to run Linux workload. So it's an open platform. And one of the features of this platform is performance, not only because of the chip, the clock of the chip inside the server, but also the cache and some offloads that this platform is capable to do, like I/O offload. We have a specific microchip responsible for I/O activities, and some microchips responsible for data compression and encryptions. All this allows the CPU to be free to perform, to execute the instructions of the application. We know, according to some statistics, that the application and I/O are the main reason responsible for problems on database. So when you have a platform that is capable to have a huge performance, you are able to mitigate some of these problems on database. By application, they mean some of those poor structured queries. So the way to attenuate that is to execute these weird queries as fast as possible. And LinuxONE can help on that. And also I/O. LinuxONE and IBM Z system, the I/O bandwidth inside this hardware is absolutely high. So it allows us to have a pretty good I/O performance. Also, security. LinuxONE was developed to have some specific microchips to do encryption. We know that security is a concern not only for the companies, but also to the consumers of the companies. We want to know how your data is being secured. Okay, and Terry is going to talk to us later how Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres can use these features inside LinuxONE to help to secure the data without increasing the TCO because you're using hardware resource. Also, availability. For database, it's extremely important to have availability. LinuxONE has a series of features that allow us to have a better availability in this platform, like automatic identification of errors, automatic recovery. We have RAID in memory, and also we have a lot of spare parts inside the servers that nobody is aware of that, and you're not going to pay for that. But those spare parts is going to help you to keep the availability of the platform. And scalability. You know that database grows constantly, and capacity is another issue that brings problems with database. Sometimes we have to increase memory or you have to increase CPU in order to meet new demand, and your platform is not capable to scale. LinuxONE and IBM Z was developed to have vertical scalability and horizontal scalability, including for your I/O. So you can scale without have to interrupt your servers, interrupt your application. All these filters is going to help you to reduce your TCO and also to have a more sustainable data center, because this platform allows us to do a lot of things with less resource. Okay. Regarding performance, we keep doing several benchmarks with the platform, including with Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres, and we are constantly publishing these benchmarks. So here we have some of them that can prove to and show the performance that this platform is capable to achieve. Okay. So, in a nutshell, when we think about the benefits that LinuxONE and IBM Z Linux can bring to your database, we can talk about availability. ITIC is our independent organization that makes surveys annually with several customers around the world. And IBM Z Linux and LinuxONE are recognized as the platform more available in the market. So we have in this graphic the result of the survey for 2021. Okay. Also performance, as I mentioned. Here is the result of throughput performance using Postgres for this specific benchmark, and it's available in IBM site, so you can check that. And also important is the flexibility and agility. Inside the platform, if you're able to provide new environments quickly, you're able to move the environment from one server to another server. As I mentioned, it's an open platform, so you can move your workload to cloud, for instance, or from cloud inside the platform. So you can start your Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres project in a cloud, and then move back to on-premise, all in a fast way and agile. And also we have tools to monitor and to keep the health of environment that can be integrated with some of the most common tools, monitoring tools available in the market. And security, that's I mentioned, it's data. It's very important to be secure. The platform can help you to do that without increasing your TCO, because we have several features, hardware features inside this environment that help you to achieve and to be compliant with several regulations regarding security. Okay, so Terry, start talking to us about a little bit about Postgres and how Postgres can benefit from all technical features, LinuxONE technical features.
Yeah, thanks, Val. Yeah, and so yeah, everybody, you've just heard really, I think, some great proof points on what the LinuxONE platform is all about. And what I want to do now is introduce Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres and start by just talking just in general about the market, right, and what is going on in the market. Postgres adoption has been growing, and I'm going to share a graphic with you in just a couple seconds that'll show what this growth looks like. But excuse me, Postgres adoption has been growing, and it's really because companies have been leaving, in a lot of cases, commercial databases for open source to reduce costs. They have been on a journey to hybrid cloud. Most companies are on a journey of modernization, digital transformation. And all of this leads to companies really needing the ability of being more agile, while at the same time having to balance that with lower cost, right? Because as we all know, commercial databases, as good as they've been for the last 30, 40, 50 years, they come at a very high price. And what I'm going to show you today is really the fact that Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres not only can match up to those commercial databases and offer the same performance, resilience, and security, but we can do this at a much lower cost because we're open source based, and we also have a lot of features that I'm going to talk about that give you the agility that you demand in this day and age. So open source, when you look at what's been happening in the market the last few years, you can see the line on the top. This is the line of, these are commercial database vendors and the commercial database market. And you can see the market share for commercial databases has been shrinking, while at the same time, what's been happening with Postgres is Postgres has really overtaken, from a market share perspective, commercial relational databases. And really, again, it's all because of the reasons I just talked about, and the fact that Postgres is an ACID compliant database, right? So it supports all of the same constructs and concepts that the commercial databases have supported for many years, right? The fact that you can, transactions are begun and committed, can be rolled back, right? And these are important things when you have a mission critical application, right? You've got a core banking application, you've got an application running your factory floor, right? You're a government and you have an application, your ERP system managing your assets, which is, running things, right? These applications need a relational database that supports all of the same constructs and features that are in the commercial databases if you are to leave those commercial databases or think about leaving those commercial databases. And so what I'd like to tell you about Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres is we have been working for many years, the past 17 years or so, on really building this product all around security, performance, resilience, and automation. And, as we look at each of these, right, and just look at them very briefly, from a security perspective, Val mentioned security a few minutes ago in talking about the LinuxONE platform. I'd also like to mention security from a database perspective. As we all know, especially in this day and age with what's going on in the world with bad actors in many countries trying to hack into just about everything that's out there, right? Whether it's a private company, it could be a nuclear plant, right? It might be a bank, a credit card company. The need for encryption and for securing your data couldn't be more important, right? We read about this every day in the news. And Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres has been built from the ground up with transparent data encryption across all the platforms that we support. Along with that, we offer a dedicated audit log, and we also offer an important component or adjunct to transparent data encryption is data masking, right? This allows data to be viewed, via policy, and so that only parts of the data, none of the data, or all of the data can be seen, right? Whether it's the entire table, the table space, the column, the row, or a specific cell, right? So all of this can be set up through policy. So data masking becomes very important, both on the test dev side of the house, as well as on the production side of the house, because based on your role, maybe you can see somebody's salary if you're in HR, but me as an employee, just looking at the HR database, that probably should be masked, right? So having that ability inside of our database is really one of those key features that makes our product built for the enterprise. From a performance perspective, I know as many of you have used commercial databases, right? There are features in a lot of these commercial databases that cache data in memory and allow for very high performance, and also offer parallel scanning when it comes to taking a query and breaking that query into multiple parts so that a long-running query can be that data can be aggregated. And we offer all of these features inside of Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres as well. So we have an in-memory columnar index, and I'll talk a little bit about why that's so important in just a little bit, as well as parallel scanning and aggregation, right? So again, if we look at commercial databases, these kind of features are there, right? Enterprises demand these features. From a resilience perspective, right? If you are a LinuxONE or a IBM Z customer today, or considering IBM LinuxONE, or considering adding IFLs to your existing IBM Z environment, resilience is something very important to you, right? You, as Val already showed in a couple of her slides, right? Not only is LinuxONE in the IBM Z platform built for resilience from a design perspective, but the fact that it has a mean time between failure of 50 years, it does not go down, right? So the fact that Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres is running on top of such a highly available platform, plus the fact that we have got built-in resilient features, such as we have built-in disaster recovery, we have a mirroring controller, we have a write-ahead log duplication, and we also have a connection manager. All of these features are built into our base product, right? So actually, let me make this point right here. Every feature I'm going to talk about from now until the end of the webinar, it's all included in our base product, right? We do not offer add-ons. So everything was built from the ground up with these features, and every feature is always in our product, no matter what platform you're running on. And again, when you're running on LinuxONE and IBM Z, obviously we're inheriting, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, but inheriting all the characteristics of that platform. And I'm going to talk about even what we've done beyond inheriting those characteristics. Also, from an automation perspective, inside the product, we can auto scale. We've got monitoring built in, as well as deep insights built in. So when it comes to automation, which again is very critical in this day and age, right? Every company that is building new applications, that is doing digital transformation, needs the ability to not only monitor the environment, but to scale the environment up and scale the environment down. And when we look at that from the context of LinuxONE, as Val already said, LinuxONE can vertically scale and it can horizontally scale. And then Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres, because of our auto scaling capability, can take advantage of both of those scaling techniques that hardware that LinuxONE supports. So really what I've been talking about is the fact that both Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres and IBM LinuxONE are really better when they're together, right? So let's just go through this at a high level. We at Fujitsu are a founding member of the Linux Foundation. We have over 30 years in database technology, 20 years in Postgres development. I said 17 a few minutes ago. I was mistaken. It's 20. We have taken our capabilities and we have delivered a custom build for LinuxONE and IBM Z, and you're going to hear about that in just a second. We also offer the only level 5 operator, OpenShift operator, multi-arc container, and this is one of those features from a modernization perspective, right? This is where the industry is headed, and we're going to look at that in just a second. Also, automation and scaling, right? Again, I've already talked about this. DevOps, DevSecOps, really all supported from the perspective of containers and what we're able to do in what we've been able to achieve using OpenShift. And we're going to talk about that in a second, as well as what we've done to deliver a custom value proposition built around the IBM Z security subsystem, the security enclave. And then on the IBM side, IBM is also a founding member of the Linux Foundation, 22 years supporting open source, right? So Red Hat, SUSE, Ubuntu, right? These are core operating systems that are all supported on the IBM LinuxONE platform. It really is a platform built for taking open source and allowing you to run open source on a platform that supports mission critical, right? And that's exactly what Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres is all about as well. So, with that said, let me kind of turn to give you a perspective. What is this value proposition that we've got? We are cloud native, right? We offer containers, as I said before, both Red Hat, OpenShift, as well as on x86, LinuxONE, and also what is not shown on this slide, we just announced power availability last week as well. So those containers cut across all the platforms on IBM, and this is all built from a community Postgres base, right? So we start with community Postgres. We add our enterprise features as well as cloud native capability, and then that's all running on IBM LinuxONE, right? So we offer very flexible deployment options. Right. We support really all levels of virtualization that IBM LinuxONE and IBM Z, LinuxONE Z support today. So we can run in native LPARs on either SUSE or RHEL. We can run on ZVM or KVM inside of an LPAR, so basically a level 2 virtualization on SUSE or RHEL. And then to take that even a level further, we can run in a container, either in a native LPAR or, well, actually it would be in ZVM, right? So it would be in an LPAR with ZVM, and then we run RHEL Core OS and can run a fully containerized environment that's either OpenShift or just standard Kubernetes. So this is all on top of the IBM Z firmware hypervisor, Prism, and that's all then sitting on a base that is built. It's the IBM LinuxONE Z hardware, which includes the central processor, the memory, the I/O, the encrypted storage, and the hardware security module, right? So that cuts across really every deployment model that we've got here. So when it comes to high availability, we really offer, again, a multitude of features. And I would encourage you, if you're interested, please let us know in the chat, because we can come on and do a technical deep dive into every one of these features with our pre-sales and Center of Excellence teams, both at IBM and Fujitsu. What I'd like to say here is that, I already mentioned some of these features, the mirroring controller, connection manager, and so on. The one feature that's only available on IBM Z is we support Z15 hardware compression, right? And why this is important is because when you're taking backups, when you're doing restores, being able to back up a database with hardware compression, restore a database with hardware compression, really gives you the capability of it speeds up your operations considerably. We're saying here about 40%. David Simpson from the Washington Systems Center at IBM took a database backup job that was running that was a 2.5-hour job without compression. And the restore was also 2.5 hours. And he turned on Z15 compression, and that backup and restore went down to 5 minutes. So although we say 40% here, and of course your mileage may vary, right? You're probably going to see 40%, if not greater. And so this, when it comes to your operations, and the fact that this is built into Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres, right? When you take a backup, we are using Z15 compression, right? So there's nothing you have to do to enable that. You don't have to turn the feature on, turn the feature off. We use the feature. And so, here I've got a picture. I wanted to include this for your reference to show you when we are doing a backup and restore, right? We've got the same feature available on all of our platforms, right? On Power, on x86, and so on. But when we move to the Z platform, those backups and restores take 40% less time, right? As opposed to running Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres on a standard x86 platform. So, this is where the rubber meets the road, right? This is one of the reasons you want to be able to use and take advantage of the features in IBM LinuxONE. From a security perspective, it's really the same story. We offer the custom build that we offer on IBM LinuxONE and IBM Z. We are integrated, our transparent data encryption is integrated with the CryptoCard hardware security module that is as you saw in that diagram showing virtualization, right? That is the core part of the hardware, right? This is one of the reasons that as a Z customer, why you're using IBM Z. And we fully take advantage of the acceleration that we're able to achieve with the CryptoCard when transparent data encryption is turned on by a database administrator and a table space, a table, a row, or a column is encrypted using our TDE. And again, this is only available on the IBM LinuxONE platform and IBM Z platform. The same with the HyperProtect data controller, right? These two go hand in hand. as far as being able to manage your keys and encrypt your data. This is all done exclusively on the IBM Z platform. Yes, we do have transparent data encryption available, as well as data masking, dedicated audit logs on our other platforms that we support, but they don't have the acceleration. And you've got to, as far as key management, you can still use the IBM Z HyperProtect data controller for your key management. Even if you're using x86, you can also use another key manager if you'd like to do that. And I've got a picture kind of depicting, and again, just for your reference, so when you download the slides, you can actually see what I'm talking about, right? Open source Postgres has no encryption. As a matter of fact, none of the other enterprise Postgres vendors offer transparent data encryption. We are the only one. And we offer it across all of our platforms. We offer it on x86, we offer it on Power, and we offer it on IBM LinuxONE and IBM Z. But again, when we look at the far right picture, we can see on the Z platform that we are really taking this encryption that we support on all of our platforms, and it really is enhanced because of the value proposition IBM Z brings to the table around security. So the HyperProtect crypto services really allow on the IBM Z platform, it gives you the ability of not only using transparent data encryption and using key management for Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres, but if you're running MongoDB, if you're running Oracle on the platform, if you're running DB2 on the platform, right, these same features can be used across your entire data management environment on the LinuxONE platform. And so that's really what gives LinuxONE a unique value proposition in the industry. So I mentioned OpenShift, and really this is, I think, the critical, architecture that most customers are looking at as they are deploying hybrid cloud, as they are looking at modernization, digital transformation, and moving to an automated environment. Again, we are the only vendor in the industry that offers a level 5, and I'll talk a little bit more on the next slide what this is all about, but we're the only vendor in the industry that offers a level 5 operator, and again, I'll talk about that, but this gives us the ability of allowing you to run Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres in an OpenShift or Kubernetes container, and all of the features we talked about, right? All of the features that I talked about with compression, security, all the features you saw in those last couple charts, those are all available inside of our container, right? You don't give up a feature to use a container. Every single feature that's available outside of containerization, right? If you want to run FEP, Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres natively, those same features all exist when you containerize our product. So this really gives you the ability of running physical, running virtual, running in a private cloud, a public cloud, on any cloud or any combination of clouds that you choose to run on, right? So we are giving you true portability and the ability of using the cloud and also the hardware of your choice, right? We're involved in a lot of solutions here. I was involved in one solution that involved LinuxONE running Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres, and it was replicating to a Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres environment on x86, right? All using transparent data encryption with IBM Z doing all the key management for the entire environment. Right, so these are the kinds of applications that we can do, right? And that same application could evolve and start using the cloud, right? And again, take advantage of multiple cloud vendors as well. So what is our operator all about, right? Our operator, I said it's level 5 certified. When you look at the different levels of certification for an OpenShift operator that Red Hat provides, it goes from level 1, which is just a very basic operator, all the way to level 5. And what level 5 is autopilot, right? This allows for automatically horizontally and vertically scaling your environment. So everything Val talked about on LinuxONE, when you implement that in a container on LinuxONE, you'll be able to take advantage of LinuxONE's horizontal and vertical scaling. We also offer, the level 5 operator offers auto tuning, auto configuration, any detection of exceptions happening in the environment, as well as scheduled tuning and being able to monitor and look at your performance as well, right? So this is all done at the click of a button. We've got some links at the end of the presentation, and one of those is a demonstration of running Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres in an OpenShift container on LinuxONE, and we could arrange and do a live demo for you as well. And so I would recommend you go take a look at the link. And if you would like us to do this live, we would certainly love to arrange that. So, but this, I think, is really quite a unique value proposition. Again, no other vendor in the industry running in OpenShift from a database perspective is running at a level 5 operator today. Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres is the only vendor. We're currently on version 14 of Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres, and that's across all of the platforms that we support. And I wanted to show you what those platforms are, right? So we've got x86 on both Windows and Linux. We've got IBM Z, we've got IBM Power, and then we've got Kubernetes, right? Which includes OpenShift. And so, again, all of those Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres features and capabilities exist on every one of these platforms. And again, when you run this on IBM Z, you are then going to be, because of our custom build on IBM Z, will allow the database running on Z to take advantage of all of Z's unique enterprise capabilities around resilience, security, and performance. Fujitsu has got a lot of services that are available to help you in your journey to move to our product, right? To move to an enterprise class Postgres. So we've got the ability of coming in and helping you implement the product. Expert services around filling gaps in your skills that you may have, right? If you've got deadlines that you have to make and so on, we've got folks on our staff that can help in the database area fill and plug some of those holes that you have, right? While you come up to speed and maybe hire some more people. We've also got performance tuning and optimization services. We've got a database migration assessment and a database migration service, right? And these things go hand in hand. And then on top and overriding all of this would be our architecture review service. And we've got a couple architects on our team. We've got one in Asia Pacific, Nan Subramanian, and as well as Tim Stewart in the US that work for Fujitsu and are on the Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres team. And we would love to have them meet with you. And, we fully are able to do architecture reviews and really set the base, right? Create the roadmap for you from an architecture perspective, and then looking at your existing environment and understanding if you've got databases that you want to migrate out of a commercial database, right? We can help you assess those existing databases and create a roadmap for migrating those databases to Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres, and then help you and your team actually do those migrations along with IBM Lab Services and the IBM team at large. And with that, I'm not going to go through this, and talk about every bullet here, but this is for your reference, links to the Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres microsite, to the IBM site. We've got 2 red books that we're very proud of that we just published our 2nd red book with the IBM team. So we've got one on data serving and one on that is more around migration. And so both of those red books are available. The links are here. And then we also, as you navigate to our website, the demos that I mentioned are available, and you can actually take a look at some of the demos that we've got. And with that said, this, I think, gives you an overall perspective, right, that we're about 2.3x, or almost 2.5 times faster on the IBM Z platform than our product running on any other platform. We're the most secure because IBM Z is at FIPS 1422 level 4 security. Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres is running on a platform that is available 5 nines of availability, right? So that makes Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres have 5 nines of availability, along with our built-in high availability features, right, that you see here. Open by design, crypto card integration, OCP containers for DevSecOps, automation, and reducing administrative costs. And so with that said, I'd like to turn it back over to Val, and she's going to talk a little bit more about some of the options you have around hybrid cloud with LinuxONE.
Okay, today also with all the value proposition of Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres on Linux on-premise, IBM is also offering all these value proposition on IBM Hybrid Cloud. So we're gonna add to this value proposition the flexibility of cloud, like the payment for utilization, like multi-tenants, like the flexibility to start on cloud, and if your environment grows and you jump to the conclusion that it's going to be better to bring the workload back on premise, you have all the flexibility and freedom to do that. So you can start a small environment for a POC or for the developer of your new application using containers or not with Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres on LinuxONE on IBM Cloud. And also we have some contacts in this slide. All this presentation is going to be available for you. And in this presentation, we have our contact, Terry, and my contact, and also Alex and Sandwood contact that they are responsible for this offering at IBM. So if you want more details about offerings, or maybe if you want a ballpark figure about that, please reach out them and get more information. Okay. And also IBM provides a consulting. We have a group inside IBM called IBM IT Economics. It's a no-charge assessments to help our customer to develop a financial business case in order to identify the TCO, to identify the return on investment, the OPEX, CAPEX, all KPIs for a solution like Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres on LinuxONE, to help our customer, to help companies to achieve an informed decision regarding what's going to be more interesting financially speaking, technically speaking, to deploy Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres on Linux. So please contact us, talk to your accounting about this consulting service. As I mentioned, it's no charge. And if you need, this group can sign an NDA with you. All the information are considered confidential. And the idea is to create a business case that you can see your environment, your environment and your numbers in this financial studies. Okay, so As we mentioned in this presentation, Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres running on LinuxONE can brings a lot of financial and technical benefits for your application, for your business, helping you to increase customer satisfaction and to reduce the operational costs. So feel free to contact us, and thank you so much for your attention today. Terry, we have some questions, but I would like to start asking my questions because it's one of the common questions that I receive from companies. One is regarding disaster recovery environment. How Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres deal with disaster recovery? Do you have to license all the environment? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and actually, I think that brings up a really good a point, because usually when you're talking about DR, and especially if you're coming from a commercial database environment, many times, there are some onerous policies around DR, and actually all of our features from the perspective of implementing a DR solution are all included in the base product, right? So you pay for this single set of features, and there are no add-ons to implement DR. So our replication, our mirroring, all of these things, our mirroring controller are all built into the baseline product, and there's no additional cost. And when it comes to how we charge for subscriptions on the IBM Z platform, as well as all of our platforms, we support the concept of we count the number on Z. We would be counting the number of IFLs that FEP is running in, right? So if it's stood up in an LPAR, right, that LPAR has 5 IFLs allocated to it. Then there would be 5 subscriptions required if it's production. Actually, let me use an example of 6 IFLs. And I'm doing this for a reason. So if it's 6 IFLs, right, that's 6 subscriptions. And then if you have a DR environment, and again, that's also running on 6 IFLs, then it's just another 6 subscriptions. Now, let's say you've got that same environment. In that LPAR, you're running FEP virtualized, right? So you're running, let's say, in ZVM, and you're running FEP in 2 IFLs in ZVM, not in all 6, on both your primary and your DR environment. We would only charge you for 2 subscriptions at the primary site and 2 subscriptions at the DR site. So instead of 12 subscriptions, right, this subcapacity capability we fully support. So we would be charging you for 4, right? And then to take this even one step further, we also, from a non-production perspective, only require 1 subscription for every 4 IFLs. So actually, probably to do quick division, it would probably be better if I use the example of you have 4 IFLs running in my first example, 4 a primary and 4 in at DR. And now you also maybe have a test dev environment with similar, right? You've got 4 running at primary or at DR, right? We would take that, you divide it by 4 and just round up to the next nearest whole number. But in this case, if we're running on 4, divide by 4, that's 1. So for test dev, we would only require 1 subscription, right? So that's how we license. And I think, as far as DR environments and the way that we license and support subcapacity, I think it really makes it very attractive for a customer to implement our product.
Okay.
Oh, let me mention, while I'm thinking about it, I wanted to mention this before the call ends, and I know we've got some other questions. Yeah. When I was talking about containers, I forgot to mention that everyone here can navigate to the Red Hat Marketplace and download Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres right from the Red Hat Marketplace. It's a multi-arc container. So you can download this on a trial install it in x86, install it on Power, install it on IBM Z, right? It's a multi-arc container, and it's available at the Red Hat Marketplace. So I wanted to mention that. So next question.
Yeah, we've got some great questions that have come through. Thanks for everybody online for submitting those. Michael came in fairly early on and sort of said, how do companies look to kickstart this platform? Is it start small? It's an interesting one, isn't it, Terry? Because you're really sort of challenging the status quo with this product.
Yeah, you are. I think, as far as, the way that we see most customers, most clients starting their journey, it is starting relatively small, right? It's taking the product, right, maybe doing a trial, right, downloading it from the marketplace, doing a trial, getting comfortable with using our product. If your direction is modernization and containerization in hybrid cloud, I would recommend probably, maybe starting on the open source, on the OpenShift, going that direction. But whether, and doing that allows you to very quickly stand up a Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres environment, right? It can be done in just a few IFLs. It doesn't really take a large IFL commitment. And so it can be stood up quickly on very few resources, and a POC can be done or started very, very quickly. And then that environment, as we know, because of how LinuxONE is architected, right? The way we can stand up LPARs and create more environments, right? Now that environment can naturally just start to grow, right? You can grow the test dev environment. You can grow the test bed, as it were, by adding IFLs to that LPAR. You can stand up a production environment, a QA environment, right? All on LinuxONE, all in different LPARs, and they can all start with just a few IFLs, and they can all just continue to grow. And as Val said before, both horizontally and vertically expand, right? As an environment, and for the most part, I think most customers, what we're seeing is more of a vertical scaling, right, to start with, right? Because LinuxONE has a lot of resources, and because LPARs themselves are like separate machines running in the same physical box, right? There really isn't necessarily a need to scale out horizontally until an application really gets to be absolutely huge, right? And as we know, just a single LinuxONE box can support a lot of equivalent x86 cores. So you can start very small, and there's also LinuxONE Express, right? LinuxONE Express, I think, is a great way for a customer to actually maybe a good entry point, because that environment is a lower price of entry. It's got all the capabilities we talked about, that Val talked about, runs Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres, runs containers, and allows a customer to start small. Then on the side of if you're a customer and you've got an environment you're looking to migrate, right? You've got some legacy environment and you're saying, I really want to get this to open source. I really would love this to be in something that's got the capabilities like Fujitsu Enterprise Postgres. Then I would say, a customer like this, it would be a similar journey to OpenShift, but maybe rather than I see a lot of these customers standing up more native environments, right? Because a lot of times those databases are very mission critical. They require the highest performance. A lot of customers don't want to be virtualized, right? So just running natively in an LPAR is very attractive, I think, to customers that are used to coming from a commercial database environment to start with, right? And so again, with LinuxONE, that environment can start small and grow into almost any size that it needs to be. I mean, Val, I don't know if you've got some other comments around this, but that's my perspective.
Yes, I agree totally with that. And I also mentioned in the question that what we are having observing with customers. Some customers that they start with some specific workloads, and as you mentioned, the platform is able to scale. They start bringing more workloads inside the platform to run the application, to run together with the database, and all that help customer to reduce floor space, reduce energy consumption, and be more flexible and agile.
I'm conscious of time, unfortunately, so we will have to just wrap up the Q&A component. But a big thanks for everybody that contributed. What we'll do is connect you with some of the experts online, and you'll be able to walk through that. I did also want to just do a quick call out. There's some really good handouts accompanying this session today. So it's just in the handout section. The first one's data value, and the other one's open data innovation. I'll tell you what, that session really gave a glimpse of sort of where this technology is going. And I think it's something that a lot of people online are challenged with day to day, around sort of, innovating their databases and sort of having a look at different ways that they can do things. And it's not just about the cost, but as Terry noted, the efficiency levels. So really exciting times. So for everybody online, feel free to use this as an asset. So you can view it on demand, circulate it around to the team, and hopefully it can kickstart a discussion. So Terry and Val, thanks so much for joining us online today and your contributions. I'm sure you've got a lot of people thinking.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Wonderful. Well, until next time, guys, again, a big thanks for taking the time out. I hope you managed to enjoy it and take some notes. And we look forward to seeing you next time. So until then, stay safe, happy, and well. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
See you later.